All right, guys, so today we're going to talk about Chapter 26, Section 4, and it's titled Two Nations Living on the Edge. Because during the 1950s, both the United States and the Soviet Union had to grapple with the idea that total war between the two nations could lead to nuclear war. And so I want to start with a clip that's famous from the Civil Defense Corporation, or Civil Defense Agency, or Administration, excuse me, preparing young students for drills in the event of an atomic fallout. So here we go. This is a famous duck and cover video.
Dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum, diddle dum dum. There was a turtle by the name of Bert, and Bert the turtle was very alert. When danger threatened him, he never got hurt. He knew just what to do. He ducked and covered, ducked and covered.
He did what we all must learn to do. You
and you
and you and you.
duck and cover.
Be sure and remember what Bert the Turtle just did, friends, because every one of us must remember to do the same thing. That's what this film is all about. Duck and cover.
This is an official civil defense film produced in cooperation with the Federal Civil Defense Administration and in consultation with the Safety Commission of the National Education Association.
Produced by Archer Productions, Incorporated. Hey, Bert, come on out and meet all these nice people, please. Oh, all right. We really can't blame you. You see, Bert is a very, very careful fellow. When there's danger, this is the way he keeps from being hurt. Sometimes it even saves his life. That's why these children are practicing to duck and cover just as you do in your school. We all know the atomic bomb is very dangerous. Since it may be used against us, we must get ready for it, just as we are ready for many other dangers that are around us all the time. Fire is a danger. It can burn whole buildings if someone is careless. But we are ready for fires. We have a fine fire department to put out the fire, and you have fire drills in your school so you know what to do. Automobiles can be dangerous, too. They sometimes cause bad accidents, but we are ready. We have safety rules that car drivers and people who are walking must obey. Now, we must be ready for a new danger, the atomic bomb. First, you'll have to know what happens when an atomic bomb explodes. You will know when it comes. We hope it never comes, but we must get ready. It looks something like this. There is a bright flash, brighter than the sun, brighter than anything you've ever seen. If you were not ready and did not know what to do, it could hurt you in different ways. It could knock you down hard or throw you against a tree or a wall. It is such a big explosion, it can smash in buildings and knock signboards over and break windows all over town. But if you duck and cover like Bert, you will be much safer. You know how bad sunburn can feel. The atomic bomb flash could burn you worse than a terrible sunburn, especially where you're not covered. Now, you and I don't have shells to crawl into like Bert the Turtle, so we have to cover up in our own way. First, you duck, and then you cover. And very tightly, you cover the back of your neck and your face. Duck and cover underneath a table or desk or anything else close by. In Betty's school, they're talking about the atomic bomb, too. Betty is asking her teacher, how can we tell when the atomic bomb may explode? And her teacher is explaining that there are two kinds of attack, with warning and without any warning. We think that most of the time we will be warned before the bomb explodes, so there will be time for us to get into our homes, schools, or some other safe place. Our civil defense workers and our men in uniform will do everything they can to warn us before enemy planes can bring a bomb near us. You may be in your schoolyard playing when the signal comes. That signal means to stop whatever you are doing and get to the nearest safe place fast. Always remember, the flash of an atomic bomb can come at any time, no matter where you may be. You might be out playing at home when the warning comes. Then be sure to get into the house fast, where your parents have fixed a safe place for you to go. If you are not close to home when you hear the warning, go to the nearest safe cover. Know where you are to go, or ask an older person to help you. You know the places marked with the S sign? They're safe places to go when you hear the alarm. If there is a warning, you will hear it before the bomb explodes. But sometimes, and this is very, very important, sometimes the bomb might explode without any warning. Then the first thing we would know about it would be the flash. And that means duck and cover fast, wherever you are. There's no time to look around or wait. Be like Bert. When there is a flash, duck and cover, and do it fast. Here are some older boys showing what to do if the flash comes when you are not in the classroom. This is what to do if you should be in a corridor. You duck and cover tight against the wall this way. Remember to keep your face and the back of your neck covered tightly. Try to fall away from windows or doors with glass in them. Then, if the glass breaks and flies through the air, it won't cut you. You might be eating your lunch when the flash comes. Duck and cover under the table. Then, if the explosion makes anything in the room fall down, it can't fall on you. Getting ready means we will all have to be able to take care of ourselves. The bomb might explode when there are no grown-ups near. Paul and Patty know this, and they're always ready to take care of themselves. Here they are on their way to school on a beautiful spring day. But no matter where they go or what they do, they always try to remember what to do if the atom bomb explodes right then. It's a bomb. Duck and cover. Paul and Patty know what to do. Paul covered the back of his head so that he wouldn't be burned, and Patty covered herself with the coat she was carrying. They knew how to duck and cover. They acted right away when the flash came. If they had been at this doorway when the bomb flashed, Paul and Patty would have ducked and covered this way, like this girl. Heavy doorways are a good place to duck and cover. She will be safer, too. Here's Tony going to his Cub Scout meeting. Tony knows the bomb can explode any time of the year, day or night. He is ready for it. Duck and cover. Attaboy, Tony. That flash means act fast. Tony knows that it helps to get to any kind of cover. This wall was close by, so that's where he ducked and covered. Tony knew what to do. Notice how he keeps from moving or from getting up and running? He stays down until he is sure the danger is over. The man helping Tony is a civil defense worker. His job is to help protect us when there is danger of the atomic bomb. We must obey the civil defense worker. We must know how to duck and cover in the school bus or in any other bus or streetcar. Duck and cover. Don't wait. Duck away from the windows fast. The glass may break and fly through the air and cut you. Sundays, holidays, vacation time, we must be ready every day, all the time, to do the right thing if the atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover. This family knows what to do, just as your own family should. They know that even a thin cloth helps protect them. Even a newspaper can save you from a bad burn. But the most important thing of all is to duck and cover yourself, especially where your clothes do not cover you. No matter where we live, in the city or the country, we must be ready all the time for the atomic bomb. Duck and cover. That's the first thing to do. Duck and cover. The next important thing to do after that is to stay covered until the danger is over. Yes, we must all get ready now so we know how to save ourselves if the atomic bomb ever explodes near us. If you do not know just what to do, ask your teacher when this film is over. Discuss what you could do in different places if a bomb explodes. Older people will help us as they always do, but there might not be any grown-ups around when the bomb explodes. Then, you're on your own.
Remember what to do, friends. Now tell me right out loud. What are you supposed to do when you see the flash?
So, the hydrogen bomb was unlike any other atomic weapon that had been developed. It gives a nation with this type of weapon the potential to destroy not just a city, but multiple hydrogen bombs used in conjunction could actually level or depopulate a country. And this is really scary stuff. We were the first to test a hydrogen bomb in 1952, but the Soviets had one a year later. And so you're watching a video here of what could happen. And of course, students are being taught to prepare for this, but the hydrogen bomb brought about a new possibility, unlike anything that we'd seen before. So, we're talking about a real cataclysmic fallout level event here. And so this brings up our first policy point, that of brinkmanship. Brinkmanship is the willingness to risk nuclear war to prevent the spread of communism. I mean, it is that type of standoff where you walk into a room with a hand grenade with the willingness to use it on yourself and the enemy if necessary. That's brinkmanship. Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, under Dwight D. Eisenhower, recommended that we pursue a policy of brinkmanship against the Soviet Union, meaning that we were willing to risk nuclear war. But unlike the use of atomic weapons in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, those killed 100,000 and 80,000 respectively, these could kill millions. This could be a global event, when you think of the fallout and the nuclear winter that could result. And so we had to develop methods to fight limited engagements. And that's where the Central Intelligence Agency, also known as the CIA, comes in. The CIA was famous for using spies around the world to gather information and also to influence political events. I want to give you two of the most famous cases here. The Prime Minister of Iran was sympathetic to the communist movements going on in his country. Iran had been devastated in the Second World War and was suffering and was impoverished. And remember, we talked about communism as kind of a classic emergency resort, a method considered when a country is in a desperate state. And so Iran was considering this, and the prime minister was sympathetic to those ideas. And so the CIA went in and got rid of this person. We actually removed a head of state and replaced him with the Shah. And the Shah was an autocratic dictator who ruled with an iron fist for 20 years with the support of the United States. In fact, when a popular uprising in Iran led by Ayatollah Khomeini, a Muslim cleric, was seeking to kill the Shah, President Jimmy Carter helped the Shah escape and seek asylum in the United States. So that's one case of the CIA being used to influence global events without the use of nuclear weapons. Another was the CIA helped to get rid of the president of Guatemala, because Guatemala, as an impoverished country, was also considering transitioning to communism. And with the help of the United States, a military leader became dictator of Guatemala. And so in both these cases, we helped to replace somewhat democratic leaders with dictators purely because these people were willing to withstand the spread of communism. Now, Stalin died in 1953, and relations improved somewhat. He was replaced by a man named Nikita Khrushchev, and Khrushchev believed that peaceful coexistence could be possible between the United States and the Soviet Union, between communism and democracy. Now, as a result, relations got better. Khrushchev actually came to visit the United States. He went to a Yankees game. He got to throw the first pitch even. Eisenhower went to meet on multiple occasions with Khrushchev at Geneva and Switzerland. And even later presidents came to the Soviet Union. And so even throughout the Cold War, both the Soviets and the Americans are trying to figure out ways to work things out peacefully. But nonetheless, we were a part of a military alliance, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, who maintained a policy of collective security. To attack France would be to attack all of them. And, of course, the Soviet Union had their own military alliance called the Warsaw Pact. To attack the Ukraine would be to attack all of the Warsaw Pact. But like I said, these world leaders were trying to figure out ways to not have to resort to nuclear war. Even though the Soviets and the Americans had this capacity, neither side wanted to use this. And the Geneva Open Skies Summit was a great example. Eisenhower met the Soviets there and proposed the idea of an open skies policy among the two nations, where perhaps the Soviets would be willing to allow U.S. reconnaissance planes to fly over their airspace to keep an eye on what's happening there, and we would allow the same. With certain exceptions, no planes over the White House, so to speak, but as long as we could know what they're up to, they could know what we were up to. And that was rejected ultimately, but it was seen as a step. At least people were proposing something. I also wanted to give you an example here of where a poor nation was able to play both sides off of one another for their mutual benefit. This is kind of like, mom and dad are divorced and the kid gets double Christmas, right? Each parent's trying to one-up the other. And so in this case, the leader of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, Nasser was famous throughout the 50s and 60s as trying to lead the Middle East into a conquest, kind of a united Arab front. He wanted to build a dam called the Aswan Dam, and it's going to be the largest dam in history, bigger even than the Hoover Dam. But he needed money, and so he approached the United States to seek funding, and we said no. And so then he approached the Soviet Union. And the Soviets said, sure, we'll help. In fact, we're going to help you transition into a communist country. We're going to provide financial and military support. And as a response, Israel, Britain, and France all sent troops to Egypt to stop the spread of communism. And a war broke out. It was called the Suez War. When these nations threatened to respond with military force, Egypt responded by closing off the Suez Canal. Now, the Suez Canal was like the I-40 of this area. I mean, this is the major shipping route connecting the Mediterranean to the Indian Ocean. In fact, as a result of this, the Eisenhower Doctrine. Eisenhower Doctrine was a policy statement where any attack of a communist country into the nation of the Middle East could result in U.S. involvement in the Middle East. Basically,
at dawn on November the 4th, 1956, 1,000 Soviet tanks swept into the center of Budapest to put down a revolt that had brought hope, freedom, and a new style of government to the people of Hungary. The rise against Soviet rule had begun some weeks earlier. Ordinary citizens had taken up arms to fight the occupying forces in a bid to free themselves from Moscow's domination and from a government at home that was as oppressive as its Soviet paymasters.
It all goes back to Eisenhower and the concern about stopping communism. But there is an exception. That's the Hungarian uprising.
For the first time since the communist takeover at the end of the Second World War, the Hungarian national flag was openly on display. Partisans were joined by elements of the Hungarian army, and when they weren't fighting alongside, the soldiers often handed over their weapons to the new revolutionaries, even tanks. The Hungarian government was forced to start negotiations for the withdrawal of Soviet troops and began to admit publicly that it had made serious mistakes in the past. Democratization would begin at once. The Prime Minister Imre Nagy also promised to reform the political system to allow all democratic forces on the broadest basis. No one in Moscow was going to allow that. Even as a Hungarian general was negotiating the withdrawal of Soviet troops from Budapest, plans for a full-scale attack on the rebels were being drawn up in Moscow. The velvet glove was about to be removed from the iron fist. The brutalities of that fateful day, as well as bringing dissident Hungarians to heel, caused chaos among communists in the West. Thousands of party members tore up their cards in protest. Even hardliners who'd obeyed the Kremlin line through all its twists and turns over the years couldn't stomach the way Moscow had crushed the uprising.
Considering using the atomic bomb. We've already saw in the Korean War how General Douglas MacArthur,
The people of Hungary had to wait another 30 years for their freedom to be restored.
atomic weapons against And so at what point would we consider, is there a line that could be drawn? Now, Nikita Khrushchev, as the new premier of the Soviet Union, favored a policy of peaceful coexistence, of scientific and economic competition. He believed that democracy and communism could coexist in the world, but that eventually one would outshine the other. And he believed this could be demonstrated in the classroom. It could be proven in economics or in scientific achievements. For example, in October of 1957, the Soviets sent the first artificial satellite to space, Sputnik. And of course, as a result, what did we do? We poured money into NASA. Kennedy stood up in front of the American people when he was inaugurated in 1960 and said, "We're going to the moon. In 10 years, we will go to the moon." What did we do in 1969? We went to the moon. Why? Because we had to beat the Soviets. It was a field that we could compete in where no one had to die. But of course, we're still in a Cold War. And one example of this I wanted to give is the U-2 spy plane. The U-2 spy plane gave us the ability to fly and surveillance Russia without getting caught. These planes could fly so high in the stratosphere that they were above normal radar's ability to detect them. And there was a concern that Soviet detection technology was catching up, that it was a matter of time before one of these got shot down. And while the president was on the way to a summit to meet with Khrushchev, one of these planes was shot down. The pilot, Francis Gary Powers, survived the crash. It's a wonder, shot down from the stratosphere, managed to eject and survive, and was captured by the Soviet Union. And while the president denied this event and said, "I have no knowledge of this pilot," they put him in the camera. Then he said, "Oh, well, it was a weather mission gone bad." And they had his confession. And it was a major embarrassment. And the failure of this U-2 incident, as it was called, renewed tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. And this is always one of those what-if scenarios. What if the U-2 spy plane had never been shot down? Could the Cold War have come to a peaceful resolution decades ahead of where it wound up? Would there have been a Vietnam, maybe? I suppose we'll never know.
And cover. We have good morning class. My name is Mr. Witt, and I'm here to talk to you today about duck and cover and how this relates to shark attack safety as well as fire safety. Now, in the following video, we have two examples of how duck and cover can be used to escape a fire as well as a shark attack. I think you'll find this to be a very practical and safe approach in both situations. Thank you very much.
So look at Erin doing her homework. Isn't she such a good student? Oh wait, what's that sound? Is it the fire drill? Erin knows exactly what to do. She's a good student. Yes, that's right, kids. She's ducking and covering. comes Bobby. Yeah, he's a good student. Checking the water first. Yes, that's right. Checking. Oh, is it too cold? Oh, yeah. Better have your goggles on, Bobby. That's right. Now we're ready to swim. Now as Bobby's splashing around. Oh, it's a shark. You better duck and cover. That's right, kids. That'll keep you safe. Maybe the shark didn't realize that duck and cover keeps you safe, but at least Bobby did. Oh, poor Bobby. Now today, kids, we learned about fire safety and about shark attack safety and what to do in each of those. And I think we showed clearly the principle of ducking and covering and how that can help in each setting. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great day.